Mangroves are a very specialized group of plants found only in the transitional zone between land and the sea. They thrive in hostile environment, battling adverse ecological conditions like saline water, lack of oxygen in the salt, and alternate exposure and submergence due to tidal action. The mangrove ecosystem is a vibrant assemblage of true mangroves, associated species of plants, animals, and microorganisms which have learned to live in this special environment with the help of a set of very unique adaptations. Mangroves are found in 107 countries across the globe, but their distribution is confined to the tropical and the subtropical region. Sundarbans, the iconic world of mangroves spread over India and Bangladesh, is the largest continuous stretch of mangroves in the world. Maharashtra has a long coastline of about 720 kilometers stretching from Zair Creek bordering Gujarat in the north to Terekhol River bordering Goa in the south. In this long stretch, there are about 68 specific locations where mangroves are found. They grow well in creeks and river mouths but are seldom found along rocky and sandy beaches. 20 species of true mangroves have been reported from the Maharashtra coast. Among these, some are so rare that they are represented only by a handful of trees in the entire western coast of India. Mangroves are valuable to us in a variety of ways. In times of natural calamities like tsunami, cyclones and storm surges, they act as barriers or shock absorbers, protecting our lives and properties. The ability of mangroves to act as bioshields against such catastrophic natural forces was amply demonstrated during the unprecedented tsunami that hit our coast during 2004. The mangrove ecosystem is also a rich source of nutrients in the coastal waters. The falling twigs and leaves in the mangrove vegetation become the primary source of a food chain which goes on to feed microorganisms, larvae and adults of many invertebrates and fish species. Many species of fish spend their larval and juvenile stages taking shelter from predators in the complex web of mangrove roots. Fisheries in our coastal waters depend a great deal on the presence of a healthy mangrove ecosystem. It would be no exaggeration to say that the mangroves enrich the livelihood of millions of fishermen in our country.
खेकड्याचा उत्पन्न मँग्रोव्ह जर हे तर मँग्रोव्ह जर जास्त जर तलावामध्ये राहिलं तर खेकड्याचं पण जास्त उत्पन्न आपल्याला मिळतो आणि ते तोडून देत नाही आम्ही गाववाल्यांना, कोणालाही तोडून देत नाही. आज आमच्या 5 वर्षापूर्वी इथे पूर्ण जी मँग्रोव्ज आहे, तुम्हाला मँग्रोव्ज काय आहे हे माहीत नव्हतं, पण आज 5 वर्षानंतर आज जवळजवळ 25 ते 30 फुटाचे इथे मँग्रोव्ज झाडं दिसत आहेत तुम्हाला.
Mangroves are also important as sources of traditional medicine.
तर बेलांडाचा उपयोग फार पूर्वीपासून लोक औषधासाठी करतात आणि आमचे वडील पण त्याचा वापर करायचे औषधासाठी. तो लहान मुलांच्या बऱ्याचशा औषधावरती येतो.
Potential of segregating a salinity tolerant gene from mangroves and transferring it to some of our agricultural crops, or the potential of mangroves in fixing carbon. Their carbon sequestration potential is believed to be 6 times higher than that of Amazonian rainforest. Above all, they occupy an ecological niche where no other greenery can flourish.
You can also understand the significance of these forests in terms of preventing the loss of soil, which is prevalent in case of monsoon season when rivers carry a burden of all the sediments from the terrestrial region and they are discharging it into the coastal region. So these forests with their highly specialized root system can prevent the loss of soil.
Meaning people think mangroves are, just wastelands and bushes that must be cut and destroyed, and they're coming in the way of, construction of more buildings. But these are our natural barriers and protection against the high winds, against, let's say, floods, high tides, for the regeneration of eco-life, marine life, and so on and so forth.
Valuable as they are in many ways, mangroves, the special gift of nature to mankind, are now facing severe ecological stress. Large swathes of mangroves have disappeared in the past due to reclamation for urban development, agriculture, aquaculture, etc. Mumbai, which can stake a claim to be the metropolitan city with the largest extent of mangroves in the entire world, witnessed the disappearance of substantial mangrove cover in the past.
The tragedy of mangroves so far was that because mangroves were not recorded legally as forests, as development issues came up in the coastal areas, there was wholesale destruction of mangroves, particularly close to big urban centers like Mumbai, Thane, including in some of the rural areas.
In October 2005, the High Court directed the Maharashtra government to declare mangroves as protected forest and hand over mangrove land to the Forest Department. Further, the Maharashtra government elevated the status of mangroves from protected forest to reserved forest.
The issue of concern, however, remains about the mangroves on private land, which the Forest Department doesn't have mandate over. So, as NGOs, we would like to see all mangroves in all areas to be covered and protected by the mangrove cell, and a single agency always helps.
Government of Maharashtra has been very proactive. All the mangrove areas of Maharashtra have been mapped using satellite imagery to give protection to these nearly 17,000 hectares of mangrove forests along the coastline of Maharashtra. The sum and substance is that we want to ensure that legal protection under the Indian Forest Act is provided to the fragile mangrove areas.
And the fact that mangroves were a new area and deserved a separate status or special protection because of its uniqueness was realized much later by the state government. And thankfully, Maharashtra state has taken the lead in this and constituted the mangrove cell. And this cell has been very effective to control destruction of mangroves, or stop the complete destruction of mangroves. And the response time is very fast, and it's a very big blessing for people who want to protect the mangroves.
One of the efforts that we are making is to conserve some of these rare species by raising their nurseries.
Since 2012, Mangrove Cell has undertaken the work of mangrove plantation in the degraded areas. So far, about 75 lakh saplings have been planted along coastal Maharashtra.
We also train the staff of Forest Department in identifying the different species of mangroves and in appreciating the specific conservation needs of individual species.
Not just to protect from the cyclone or tsunami, but there are many other benefits of mangroves. Like it is a very well medium for generating many livelihood activities. So that's why we have, in addition to this mangrove cell, we have a Mangrove Foundation also. So here also Maharashtra is the first state in the country to have not only mangrove cell but also Mangrove Foundation, through which we are carrying various activities for livelihood generation. If we expect people to come forward for the protection of mangroves, it not just by appeal they will come, unless and until there are some economic benefits to them.
Well, there are very few cities in the world which has the vast extent of natural assets that Mumbai has. So Mumbai is a city, is really unique in that sense that it has mangroves, it has wetlands, it has forests, creeks, rivers, ponds. And in fact, as the city has been growing, its public spaces are shrinking. And one of our major concerns in planning is how to expand open spaces in Mumbai. And I see here as an opportunity. One simple example that I referred to is creating the boardwalks along the edges of the wetlands, for example, in Sewri. Having created these boardwalks would not only be a wonderful sight for people to actually watch the birds coming, which is a dramatic sight, but also would actually help protect the edges of the wetlands.
Also, what we would like to see is to showcase these mangrove areas in terms of the bird life in it. And unless people come and see what is inside the mangroves, they will not have that much motivation or interest to protect the mangroves. So it's very important that the mangrove cell develops these areas and showcase them to people.
This is the Coastal and Marine Biodiversity Center, which was established in April 2017. The purpose of this center is to spread awareness about mangroves and coastal marine biodiversity. Now, this center was developed with the help of GIZ, the German agency, under an externally aided project. And the whole display that you see here were manufactured in Germany and then installed here. And this center gives information about coastal biodiversity in this room, and in the next room they can get information about marine biodiversity. So we have tried to make this center as interactive as possible with the introduction of a lot of voice mechanisms by which you can hear the voice of birds, fish, some dolphins, whales, and get information about turtles. There are display boards which are very interactive where people, children can play around. It is becoming very popular by the day, and a lot of tourists are visiting here. And we expect that this center would become one of the premier tourism destinations in Mumbai very soon.
Mangroves are a part of very crowded cities like Thane and Mumbai, and we have both an opportunity and a challenge. The mangroves provide a green lung to the city. As citizens, we must treat mangroves as a green park and as a part of us. It is our duty to protect and save mangroves both for ourselves and for generations to come.